Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, chapter number 2 and text number 44. Sakam Vyasa Vipraha Mahapurusha Kinkaraihi Haimana Vimanam Aruhya Yayau Yatra Sriyapati Sakam Vihaya Sa Vipro Mahapurusha Kinkaraihi Heimam Vimanamaruhya Yayau Yatra Sriyapati Sakam Vihaya Sa Vipro Mahapurusha Kinkaraihi Hemam Vimanamaruhya Yayau Yatra Srihapati Sakam Vihaya Sa Vipro Mahapurusha Kinkaraihi Heimam Vimanamaruhya Yayau Yatra Sriyapati
Sakam Vihaya Sa Vipro Mahapurusha Kinkarai Emam Vimanam Aruya Yayo Yatra Sriyapati.
Mothers,
Sakam Vihaya Sa Vipro Mahapurusha Kinkarai Emam Vimanam Aruhya Yayo Yatra Sriyapati. Sakam Vihaya Sa Vipro Mahapurusha Kinkarai Emam Vimanam Aruhya Yayo Yatra Sriyapati.
Sakam along Vihayasa by the path in the sky or the airways. Vipraha, the Brahman Ajamil. Mahapurusha Kinkaraihi, with the order carriers of Lord Vishnu. Haimam, made up of gold. Vimanam, an airplane. Aruhya, boarding. Yayau, went. Yatra, where? Sriyapatihi, Lord Vishnu, the husband of goddess of fortune. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Accompanied by the order carriers of Lord Vishnu, Ajamil boarded an airplane made up of gold. Passing through the airways, he went directly to the abode of Lord Vishnu, the husband of Goddess Fortune. For many years, material scientists have tried to go to the moon, but they are still unable to go there. However, the spiritual airplanes from the spiritual planets can take one back home, back to Godhead, in a second. The speed of such a spiritual plane can only be imagined. Spirit is finer than the mind, and everyone has experience of how swiftly the mind travels from one place to another. Therefore, one can imagine the swiftness of the spiritual form by comparing it to the speed of mind. In less than even a moment, a perfect devotee can return home back to Godhead immediately after giving up his material body. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshul Militanjena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Shri Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sakam Vihaya Sa Vipro Mahapurusha Kinkaraihi Hemam Vimanam Aruhya Yayo Yatra Shriyapati. Accompanied by the order carriers of Lord Vishnu, Ajamil boarded an airplane made up of gold. Passing through the airways, he went directly to the abode of Lord Vishnu, the husband of the Goddess of Fortune. And Srila Prabhupada gives the very nice purport. This purport is like an airport where everyone lands there, every plane lands. Srila Prabhupada's purports are so penetrating to the modern relevance that one may keep thinking that how can you come back to Godhead in 1 second or less than a second even? Krishna is explaining the subtleness of the soul. Then Indriyani pararahu indriyabhya param manah manashasto paror buddhe buddhestu eva sa para. Subtle than the gross body are senses. Subtler than the senses is the mind. Subtler than the mind is intelligence. and subtler than the intelligence is the soul. So, subtlety has to be understood, which is beyond our sense perception. There is mind and intelligence also. And subtler than the intelligence, there is an interface between the soul and the is the false ego also. So the idea is that if you consider you want to measure the subtleties, then you have to measure in the sense of wavelength. Words, activities, they are all moving. The movement is there. If you remember in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when Maitreya Muni is explaining the estimation of time by the movement of the atoms. Movement of the atoms. The movement is a very dynamic principle. Even the modern scientists, they accept the movement is there even in inert matter. They accept it. What to speak of the electrons revolving around a nucleus of an atom? And they want to measure the wavelength. The wavelength is the real communication. When I speak, you hear the sound vibrations at a certain wavelength. But our receptivity is also in a different wavelength. A radio receiver, a cheap radio, have a lot of interference than the actual station that has to be picked up. So, in every human being, even whatever I'm speaking or Srila Prabhupada speaking, anybody speaking can be received in different wavelengths. So, how much I understand, how much you understand, it becomes only a relative question. But more introvertness means all the interferences that are coming in reception of a particular wavelength is to be removed. They have to be removed. And clarification will be there, just like fine-tuning. So Krishna consciousness is the process of fine-tuning. Very, very fine-tuning. 4 regulative principles is a gross tuning. And fine-tuning will be the introspection when we remove all the anarthas from our life. So receptivity should be very clear. In the beginning, the transcendental knowledge was conveyed by hearing, speaking and hearing, Shruti. The receptivity was very, very powerful. In Kali Yuga, our receptivity is not there. Virtually nothing. We have to repeat to receive. We forget all the time. So, the measurement is there. So for material measurement, they also calculate through the wavelength. In sound vibration, wavelength is there, short wave, or what they call FM, right? But the short wave can be received from farther distances. Voice of America is all over the world. So receptivity as well as transmitting, both are to be matched. Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee, and we must try to listen very carefully, even though it is said in so much simple language. It's penetrating to those who are sincere and they are trying to do fine-tuning. Now, similarly, sound vibration, so sight, they have also the wavelength. Even the minuscule nature of an atom requires measurement. So naturally, Srimad Bhagavatam puts the estimation of time, kala, on the movement of the atom. It's so minute, but it is moving. Nobody can say this is a dead matter. Otherwise, how come dead matter is said to be the totality of Brahman? Brahman consists both spiritual and material natures, not only spiritual nature. Parabrahman is Krishna. So, nothing is meaningless. One may be temporary, because Krishna interjects the movement principle then as a kala. And Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sarcharacharam hetu nanena kaunte jagadvi parivartate. Besides me, there is no other cause that why this whole material universes are revolving, and why our birth and deaths and these cycles of yugas are also coming in that measurement. It's not whimsical to measure the age of Brahma. The units are there, and it has been well studied. In third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, this is explained very vividly. So, when we see the material wavelength, then there is a interface when the spiritual wavelength starts, which cannot be measured by material equipments. The spiritual wavelength is working on different, actually, if they want to describe, scientists want to describe, they say minus. You know, the temperature is also measured. In the temperature, they call it up to 0. All right, means freezing temperature. But there are below freezing temperature, so they start putting minus on that. They measure it on the minus level. All right? So, when the consciousness is purified, whatever the background may be, Ajamil had the worst background. And Krishna does not take into consideration. He afforded the chances to become purified simply because he had some pious credits previously. And accidentally, by speaking the name Narayan, just prior to death, he was saved by the Vishnudutas. So, seeing the fighting or the quarrel between the Vishnudutas and Yamadutas, Ajamil perceived the spiritual wavelength, and it became again function. So he knew that I have to complete my spiritual practice. He was given a leash of time immediately, without consideration of whatever the debauched attachments he had. He left. Just like people leave stool behind, he left. They don't see what are they leaving behind even. That's the strong comparative explanation of detachment. So, when one is fixed in this purified consciousness, he is immediately transferred to the actual realm. Ajamil saw that those 4 Vishnu Dutas, they were present before him, and with a golden aeroplane. This modern science, they are making big planes to fall down quicker. Everything falls. Their material efforts, that put it against the even gravitational force, which is also calculated. Even little shake of earth and an earthquake is being measured. And these people, scientists, they are trying to do their measurement that at what speed it will fall. They can't predict where it will fall, because there are so many factors that they have to calculate. So transference from anti-gravitational force, the soul, when it leaves the body, soul is not subjugated to the gravitational force, because it is transcendental. Otherwise, everybody will be pulled down. I mean, material attachment is the heaviness on the soul. It's a burden, so naturally it will fall down for a repeated birth. That can be understood. But the soul can be easily transferred into the realm of Lord Vishnu. And it is called here Shriyapati. Lord Vishnu is the husband of hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis. Krishna is Lakshmi Sahasra Sata Sambra Sevimanam, where one is simply engaged in transcendental service. All the Lakshmis are engaged in that service. And the soul also goes there immediately, a fraction of a second. So, when Lavamatra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy, it is not an exaggeration. It is the spiritual transfer. It's a transit lounge in the airport. You immediately transfer yourself. It's exactly the same situation in the spiritual world. But this, what is the nature of the airplane is very opulent. It's made up of gold. Again, the gold standard is there. If you remember, in all our temples, especially in South India, this shikhar or spire over the deities is composed of several vimanams in different directions. They are actually airplanes where the demigods wants to descend, and that is their arrival place. That's called vimanam. Previously, I used to travel by Bangladesh Biman. Biman, Bangladesh. And all the announcements were in very nice Sanskritized Bengali. And seems that they are also inheriting the same feeling through the not only the language but through the culture. So the idea is that such accessibility of the transcendence is available everywhere. That they may be found rudimentary, but nonetheless it reminds us something of a higher value. So culture, ethnicity, everything takes part in Krishna consciousness. That's how it becomes so universal. So transcendental measurement is to be understood, and how the transfer can be done. The opulence is there. Here in the material world, the opulence is said to be shadow opulence. There is no actual opulence. The gold standard is, of course, everybody wants to acquire gold, and government of India is eyeing to the gold in every house, for over 1.25 billion population, how much gold they can retrieve. India is the richest country in conserving gold, but it is individually unused. So government is eyeing on that gold, and they want to transfer into a bond and melt the gold and stockpile it for the standard of economy. One temple in Thiruvananthapuram can have so much gold. What do you think altogether all the temples all over the India? That's the government vision, gold standard. They are not going to make golden plain to liberate. They are simply talking of survival in and down to earth level only. They have no plan to put you on the threshold of transcendent immediately. No. A lot of obstacles are there. They created because of not following four regulative principles. So they cannot expedite the purification. It is simply a talk in the air about even cow slaughter. It's only a fraction of a stir, and that creates a great havoc throughout the world, and they will be criticized to stop cow killing. The underlying factor is that it is extremely important to refrain from the product of the slaughters. Because in remembrance of Krishna, who came to protect the cows and preserve the Brahminical culture. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitaya Cha Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo. Krishna taught us that by protecting cow and Brahman culture, we will be able to perform the total welfare of the whole world, whole manifestation. So it is not simply a eulogy or a glorification of a high standard in Sanskrit, but the perception is that when the entire economy for peace, health, and prosperity can be derived from this particular fact of Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitaya Cha. Brahman or Gaur Hita. The goes cows and Brahmanas. Hita means welfare. if we see the welfare of cows and brahmanas. Krishna established that culture. People want to introduce other aspects of the culture. They are not important. These two cultures can be easily understood through Daivi Varnashram system, not other way around. So, the standard of happiness has to be measured in the most valuable metal, an element called gold. No. In Kali Yuga, Kali has also taken residence in gold, an extra place, he asked. How do you think that gold standard will be there to run economy? Gold is utilized here in producing a very ornated, beautiful, and self-moving aeroplane, and so swiftly. So swiftly. If Ajamil could have easily transferred through his consciousness to Vaikuntha Loka, simply by becoming Krishna conscious, one moment was enough. But why he has to sit on a golden aeroplane along with the accompaniment of the 4 Parshadas of Lord Vishnu? He was not taking much time. Everything happened immediately. It means everything, the Vishnu Dutas, the gold aeroplane, as well as Ajamil, they are all at the same wavelength, same standard. And immediately one can transfer. Gold is attractive. Not alluring, but attractive. Allurement and attraction has a little significance, different significance. Attraction is more important than allurement. In alluring, there is a sense of proprietorship as well as generating Vyasa or desires for enjoyment. That is allurement. But attraction is the principle of Lord Krishna. It's all attractive. He wears golden ornaments. Actually, he was born with golden ornaments, when you say, when he appeared before Devaki and Vasudeva. It is said gold. Oh, not platinum, which is little more expensive than gold. So platinum is more valuable. Who cares of platinum? It is not attractive. Gold is more attractive than other metals which are still higher. People don't like even white gold rings. In America it is a fashion. They need original gold, the luster of gold. So the idea is that Krishna is all attractive. So everything becomes attractive when one becomes Krishna conscious. And immediately everything becomes at par to be accepted in reality, and that's the end of the problems. It's a conclusion that we have to live in a comparative lifestyle, comparative life. See the wavelength. If the wavelength is on transcendental side, there is no comparability. It stops there. So, this is pretty important. How is it possible to have all perfection simply by a moment's or less than a fraction of a moment's association with a real sadhu? When Srila Prabhupada came to United States, he was able to attract, and such attraction was transcendental. They did not study Srila Prabhupada, rather they reciprocated as Srila Prabhupada reciprocated. The beginners, they did not know any of these things. These devotees reciprocated. So direct reciprocation on a transcendental platform can be evoked at any moment. So in Krishna consciousness, creed, caste, nationality, and other things are not considered. Then we can understand that transcendental nature can be found and fructifying, giving results to even dogs who can participate in Harinam, participate in other activities. So the idea is that the presence of the all-attractive personality of Godhead is 100% transcendental. That is called Parasattva. Parasattva means even above Sattva. Sattva gun is essential because we are in material life, and material mode of Sattva gun is more important. But beyond Parasattva. And Krishna is Vishuddha Sattva. Sattva avalambi parasattvam Vishuddha Sattvam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So all these three phases are existing on a different wavelength. And otherwise, how come stage-wise the increment in spiritual perception and behavior is found even in sannyas gradation? The first step was called Kutichak, second step was called Bahudak, third step was called Parivrajagacharya, and fourth one is called Paramahamsa. Refined tuning is there. And the practice is at par with the purpose. Therefore, it is spiritual. It is not karmakand. All our devotional practices are beyond karmakand. They are spiritual. Those who use the form of the Lord to perform material beneficial activity, that is falling under karmakanda section. But Prabhupada said, we are not karmakandis, we are not idol worshippers. We worship Archa Vigraha. Archa Vigraha. Vigraha is a specific word for the body. About 13 words are used different way according to different functions of the body. Chiyate iti deha, jiryate shiryate iti sharira. One that produce exactly one's like is called tanu. Varshma is another. There are different meanings. And Vigraha has been specifically designated as the word applicable to the form of the Lord, where Vigraha can exchange the sentient feelings of a devotee, and Vigraha reciprocates. When we hear different nice stories in Vrindavan, when we come on parikrama, we have heard that here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was being worshipped in a very parental way by one mother. So Gaur-Nitai deities were there, and somehow or another, one day she chastised and Gaur-Nitai started walking off. In Mamgachi, Narottam Das Thakur's Gauridas Pandit had deities, and they also started walking off. Sakshi Gopal. So, these are not fairy tales. This can be perceived when we develop transcendental service to the Lord. So that platform has to be achieved, and here the simple understanding that Ajamil went back home, back to Godhead without any delay or interference, within 1 second. And Prabhupada says that in less than even a moment, a perfect devotee can return home back to Godhead immediately after giving up his material body. So, chanting is, however, should be in such a wavelength. Many people who try to recommend, because everybody somehow or other they chant, even mumbo jumbo or whatever they want to chant, they chant different names or some kind of manufactured name or whatever it is, But everyone has to come from a different wavelength. But nonetheless, there is a common practice. They say that one must chant the Nad, Brahmanad. Nad Brahman. Means it should be at the level of Brahman. Now, Brahman means sum total of both material and spiritual energies. Right? Again, it's a mixed situation. But chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is totally on the spiritual platform. It is equivalent to Vishuddha Sattvam state. There is no difference. When somebody chants and Prabhupada says he's chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Prabhupada will say, oh, Krishna is dancing on his tongue. Well, how come this perception is not coming to us when we chant? I don't see, or don't think of even Krishna. This is how, the perceptions on the different wavelength is established by different people. One has to clarify. But it is the holy name itself, chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra itself is powerful to cleanse gradually, to come to that perception of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, Nama Chintamani Krishnasya Rasa Vigraha, Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Abhinatvam Nama Namino. You can put up a whole book and explain this level of transcendence to be understood. The system is there, intact, and Samahananda, Srila Prabhupada and his followers are putting up the retreats in Govardhan just to experience that level of vibrations, level of the wavelength. Thank you very much. Anybody has any question on that?
Raj, the question is regarding the tuning of the receptivity. We want to be receptive to the sound vibrations. If there are transcendental sound vibrations, if there are some obstacles that come with interference, could you go into more depth and explain the different obstacles that we might encounter?
I will have to give seminar on Harinam Chintamani then. But when we accept bhajana kriya, then anartha nivrutti is the main thing to be done. Sometimes our understanding is, oh, I'm initiated, I have done, I'm finished, everything is done. But what about anartha nivrutti? That is one's own obligation to him. If he needs help, then more understanding, more practicality will be given through the help of Guru. He's not going to be left alone in the wilderness of anarthas. Because chanting of the holy name is so powerful that if he wants to leave the holy name will not leave him. It is stuck. He's stuck eternally for that. So we have to wait. But those who want to expedite, then they have to go through the teachings of Haridas Thakur and it's very nicely explained, categorically explained, and then the aparadas which are happening through the agencies of anarthas, that can be also removed. But the power, the potency is coming through the holy name. But at least willingness to chant should be there, not that we can become careless, oh, I'll chant later on. It is the first and foremost priority. Chant or die. They say do or die, we say chant or die. So anartha nivrutti is first and foremost thing in bhajana kriya that we have to pay attention and make an effort. Huh? Chanting is not getting purified? What do you mean by that? Chanting makes everyone purified. Why it has to get purified? Just chant Hare Krishna and chanting will purify our consciousness. Our consciousness has to be purified, not the chanting has to be purified. Just chant. Don't say can't or something else.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's a wonderful class. Two things, Maharaj. First is, what is the test of one going back to the spiritual world? And secondly, you were mentioning about the Archavita, deity worship. How important is deity worship and one of the most important, five important aspects of it?
Learn how to do deity worship first. And you are supposed to treat the deities as if you want to treat yourself the best. Then the level of reciprocation will start. And the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapil Dev is instructing his mother about the purpose of deity worship. is to realize the localized aspect, Paramatma. Because Paramatma is present everywhere and you do not see or realize otherwise. Even in impersonal way, it is too difficult to think of Paramatma. They have no access of Paramatma. But a devotee is encouraged to perform deity worship in order to realize this local aspect first. Because Paramatma is situated everywhere, he is also situated in the deity. He is situated in you too. But you are a servant. You can't serve your body and say, oh, I'm trying to serve my Paramatma within me. That is an imposed. So the deities are there to give you reciprocation. Kapil Dev is telling at that extent that a pujari's service to the deity will not reach if he does not come to the standard of proper behavior with the congregation. The way he treats the deities, so should he treat everyone. That is the level of Paramatma. Samat sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. So, the understanding is there that there is at par communication. At that wavelength, the pujaris are so imbued in love of Godhead. That has to be perceived. Except in ISKCON, there are business going on of puja. Karmakandis, Pandits and others, business people. They want to use the deity worship as business. But real worship is one who engages himself. And our temples are supposed to provide that facility to all the devotees. Thank you very much. Baba, I have a flight to take. I'm not like Ajamil who can go. Yes.
That's part of the question, Maharaj, was what the test of whether one has gone back to the spiritual world.
Test of?
Whether one has gone back to the spiritual world after that meditation body.
Acid test?
What is the test of whether one has really gone back to the spiritual world?
Oh, you want to go there and check it out? Without that, you can't. Huh?
How do we know whether materially, how can we assess whether
If you can experience the reciprocation here, then want that reciprocation to soul to super soul continue? So eternality is there. Where else you will go? You have to accept, not test it. It's simple logic. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki